I'm Mac Patrick, Chair of Public Health and Safety. It's October 22nd, 2025, and I'd like to call our meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is without further ado, is our Chief of Police, Jerry Marin. And Chief, we just invited you on to kind of give us an overview of things happening in Darien. Maybe you could give us a little brief description like you did the other day on e-bikes and discuss that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate the invite tonight. And I completely appreciate you putting me on first, but I'm happy to stay on through the duration. And if anybody has any questions on anything, I'm happy to answer. I don't want to waste anybody's time, and I'm happy to report on specific areas that you all are interested in. But what I will say is, we recently came to the close of a quarter, and believe it or not, for one of the first times in my career, it's been pretty status quo here in the Darien Police Department. We've seen, again, I've knocked on wood several times in the presentations I've given in the last 48 hours, but things are good. We start with staffing, right? Our staffing is the backbone of the delivery of service that we provide for the town, and we're in a position right now where we're still down 3 sworn personnel. We have one just about to start the police academy coming up. We're happy about that, and we've just reopened our entry-level application process through an online service that we use that kind of does the initial vetting for us, and we're confident that we're going to be able to fill some positions before the end of the year and get us up to our full staffing levels. In the dispatch civilian side of things, we just brought on 2 new dispatchers that are undergoing some field training. It's bringing us to the closest point we've ever had in full staffing for our dispatchers since the program kind of rolled out, I guess at this point probably 12 years ago. We're only short 1, and I'm happy to say I think we have a couple of candidates in the queue too. By contract guidelines, we can only train 2 at one time, so they seem to be tracking in the right direction, and we're very excited about getting that, finally putting that in the rear view and accomplishing a full complement of civilian dispatchers. And then we can start playing around with structure and schedules and really kind of do what we had hoped to do for the last several years. I know you're always interested in budget. I'm happy to answer budget questions. I did tap into Captain Mastriani, who heads our administrative services division, who really oversees the budgets on all the specialized divisions. And there are a couple highlights I'd like to share for the fiscal year 26 budget that has already been approved, but we've had to manipulate, so to speak, over the past few weeks, and I think it could be of interest to your group and your board. One of the interesting things, and I don't think about this kind of stuff, but I'm learning it, our police boat. We acquired that police vessel back in 2016, and it has served the town amazingly. And we even saw other neighboring jurisdictions follow what we did in acquiring similar type vessels, but it's actually up for a reskinning, which means the outer covering of that vessel needs to be replaced. It's not like our own boats that are taken out of the water every November and put back in every spring. These boats are used throughout the year. They see harsh conditions, and we're at the point where it needs to be reskinned to the tune of approximately $32,000. Now that's already been approved as a capital budget item. But it's not something that we can just put a patch on. We've done that for the last couple of years, and it's a big ticket item. And I know the town's very concerned when we acquire new items. What does it look like in the coming years to as far as maintenance and what we're really bought into? So that is something that we're going to be pursuing and looking into getting us back up to speed so that we can. In fact, the boat was even used in the past couple of days on several calls. Overturned boat off Long Neck Point, mutual aid assistance in a small island off of Stanford with a man in the water. So our guys are, even though we don't staff at this time of year full time, we have numerous boat operators that are working the streets, so to speak, and driving around in a police car, and they race down to Pear Tree and jump in the boat and provide assistance where they can. So it is something we're going to continue to make sure we're able to provide.
Chief, is there much downtime to do that maintenance?
I don't think so. We work around tides. We work around days where we think there's weather days that the waters are going to be less used, and we make sure there's a strategy there where we have to pull the boat for a couple of days, and we do that several times throughout the year, just routine maintenance, or the engines need to be worked on, and we have to pull it out of the water. So we always make sure that we are checking the boxes, so to speak, when we need to include that downtime. So, and of course, we have the Norotan Fire Department that can cover for us, and we always let our neighboring partners know that we're going to be out of service for a little bit, and they do the same with us. So it's not a huge concern of ours, but we're going to make sure we take care of it the most efficient way possible.
Chief Marin, just out of curiosity, because I'm sure you've done all the analysis, is it worth refinishing it versus getting a new one? I don't know how much a new one would cost, and how much more life is there on the current one?
Holy smokes! That's an awesome question. Great question. And I'll just back up a little bit. When 2020 hit and we had the COVID type situation, you couldn't buy a boat. Any boat that was available, everyone bought because there was nothing else we could do. So I think the pricing ladders and some of the availability is still trying to catch up there. So of course we've looked into the lifespan of this boat. It far exceeds the 9 years that we're in right now, and we're happy with the equipment we have. From a fiscal perspective, we believe this is the right thing that we're doing, and it's been a couple of years. It snuck up on us a little bit, but the only reason being is since 2001 and Homeland Security initiatives and directives required law enforcement agencies to have vessels in the water 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. There's some wear and tear even when it's just sitting on the dock. So we believe this is the best financial move to reskin. We've had to repower, meaning replace the motors within the last couple of years, and we think we're still tracking in the right direction, and it's the best investment for the town at this point.
Thank you.
Like I said, I could talk. I've been talking all day, and I'm kind of losing track in where I'm going. But for the interest of this group, we brought on a facilities coordinator within the last year, which I'm sure you're aware of. We brought on a mechanic that's housed here just to work on our historical building problems, but we also share with Public Works, and those folks are busy. They've been busy and they've been doing a great job. And again, I'm just quickly reading a summary here from my administrative services captain. We know and recognize that these two individuals are identifying issues that not only are near-term but long-term situations that our building needs to go through. Something I have no idea. Elevator pit repairs. Unless I had it in front of me, I wouldn't know that's something we need to be concerned with. But there's state testing, there's regulations, there's annual permits you need to have to make sure our elevators are up and running properly. And unfortunately, when we did the testing over the past calendar year, we realized that we were a little behind as far as what was happening. We had water in the pit of the elevator. It compromised some of the technology the elevator needs to properly be sustained. And we had approved funding in our capital budget in the amount of almost $15,000. That's ongoing. We've done about half the work. We've got it up to be in compliance as far as the state's concerned to get people across our two levels of our facility here, but it's an ongoing issue. And I don't know that we would have recognized that if we didn't have the two folks that we brought on to be in charge of this type of stuff. I mean, we're cops. So we've had a cop that's been in charge of making sure our building is running properly, and that there's been turnover in that position. We don't have the credentials in the background to recognize it, on a preventative level, to really make an impact in preventing any kind of downtime or preventative maintenance issues. But these two folks that we've brought in have really helped us out. It's the numbers are glaring a little bit, but I know we're doing the right thing. And I love the fact that the efficiency of taking it out of a sworn police officer's hands and putting it in the hands of experts. I think it'll take a little bit of time, but it's going to get us to where we need to be and eventually save the town some money. One of the other big ticket items is our IT server room air condition replacement. We house 911 or 911 server equipment required by the state, and we're reaching end of life with some of these equipment items. There's been issues of overheating, which could potentially cause downtime, which is just not acceptable for a 911, what they call PSAP location, and we are one of them. So we're trying to get in front of it. There's been some approved funding in this year's capital budget to the amount of $70,000, and we're working with vendors and contractors and bidding systems, and we're hoping to get that taken care of before we experience any kind of a pause or disruption of service or downtime. But like I said, I could tell you it's been a breath of fresh air to have some civilian staff here that kind of shed some light on what's going on here. We've been reactive, as you know, since last fall, I would say. And we don't realize there's a problem until water's coming through the ceiling. And now that these folks are identifying the situations way in advance. And I know the building, as far as structures are concerned, isn't that old, but I wasn't involved in the process 12, 13 years ago. And yet it's in my lap at this point, and we're trying to do the best we can. So I know that type of stuff affects your folks and you folks and some of the other town boards, but just know that we're giving our best effort and making sure we're saving the town as much money as we can. And we're trying to be fiscally responsible as we can. And we're on it to the best of our ability.
Chief, can you talk about e-bikes? I think that's a big issue of concern that many of us brought to the meeting tonight.
Scooters. Feels like
Scooters.
Yeah.
Can I ask that you start with a quick overview for those of us who don't really follow it? Like, what are e-bikes, what are, all the different things? And I know you use power levels and helmet things and where they can ride. So I'm thinking about a sort of a grid, but if you could just start at the basics and then talk about
You just summed it up.
Yeah, but I don't know what falls where.
One of the things I like to tell audiences when I have the opportunity to speak to them on this topic, and I'm not an expert, I'll give you that disclaimer. Town of Darien is interesting because due to its affluence, these kids have access to top technology where other towns don't typically see it. I've been in regional chiefs meetings, and I've been in statewide meetings that say the problem really lies mostly in the Fairfield County areas with kids being on e-bikes and e-scooters and don't really know what's going on. They don't know what their responsibility is. If you want to back it up a little bit, it really is the best way to sum it up is any kid on a manual powered scooter or bike or e-powered scooter or bike need to follow the rules of the road. And parents have skipped that step. And we identified that over the last year and a half. And what we've targeted really or decided to move forward on is an education and an awareness campaign. We have kids that now are on Tokenique Road and are able to take their e-bike to Middlesex Middle School. That never was a thing that we needed to deal with. I will knock on wood. I've done it 3 times today already. We've had collisions involving e-bikes and e-scooters and motor vehicles. They haven't been serious, which I'm very thankful of, but we still see, you've all seen how everybody, I mean, the biggest thing we see is the reckless operation because the kids just don't know. Here's a fact. E-bikes and e-scooters are not supposed to be, generally are not supposed to be on sidewalks in the state of Connecticut, but yet we see it. When Middlesex Middle School opens up, I see a parade of kids on sidewalks going against traffic because that's the side of the road that the sidewalk's on. But generally, that's not approved. Now, a town could make and enact an ordinance to allow that, but we are not at that point yet. And we see a lot of our accidents and injuries because when you pull out of your driveway and you're looking to take a left, you're not expecting a pedestrian or someone on a scooter to be on the sidewalk coming from the right. It's just not the way it works. So even to back up further, so these e-bikes, these e-scooters, these e-vehicles are what they typically used to be human powered, but now they are powered by batteries and they're able to exceed speed limits on roads with very little physical input from the operator. It literally is like almost operating a motorcycle. None of them are supposed to, or allowed, or permitted, or authorized to go over 28 miles an hour. We've all seen them going over 28 miles an hour. Just this October 1st, they've reclassified. There's 3 different classifications of e-bikes and e-scooters that will tell you when it needs to be registered, what age you need to be, whether you need insurance, and whether you need to have a driver's license. But what we've noticed is that the parents in town, the families in town, have just figured that, hey, I'm going to get that Honda high-end e-bike for my kid because it's the best one and they deserve it. But they're not realizing that it far exceeds, and I'm throwing Honda out there, that's not, that just as an example, it far exceeds what the law allows. These kids have quickly realized that you can just go on YouTube and with a couple of small adjustments in a matter of minutes, you can take the governor off these vehicles and they can exceed 40 miles an hour. Again, we're not seeing tragic situations, but I can tell you firsthand, my daughter in Trumbull, she had a classmate killed over the summer in Trumbull. This stuff is happening. So we know that the parents don't want us stopping their kids and issuing them tickets or issuing the parents tickets. So we decided to take an approach and we collaborated with the Board of Ed, the First Selectman's Office and the Police Commission. And we kind of launched a campaign last fall to really drive home the education and the awareness point. And we even partnered with our Darien Police Association. We have an incentive program where if we see kids in compliance that are following the rules of the road and have their helmet on and they're stopping at stop signs and using hand signals, we hand out free coupons for slices of pizza. We've had some good feedback from that. We're not reaching everybody. We know we weren't going to reach anybody, but it's a starting point. And we'll vamp that back up again now that Christmas is coming, because once again, what's going to happen? We want to reach the parents before they make these purchases for their kids and buy them these vehicles that maybe are not allowed on Connecticut roads. But I ask for patience of the motorists. I implore parents to be more involved with what they're telling their kids they're allowed to do and what they should or shouldn't be doing. And it's a work in progress, like a lot of the stuff we deal with.
Steve, can I ask a quick question here? Of
course.
Yeah, go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, thanks. You actually answered my first question, which was going to be, what are your officers doing if and when they see, multiple 2 kids on a bike, one with a helmet, one without, and so on. And you mentioned that you're taking the education route to start with. So moving on from that, what I notice a lot is if they're wearing a helmet, it's often like a bicycle helmet or a like a skateboard type helmet. and they think they've got a helmet on, but they're doing 38 miles an hour on a bike that actually has some weight to it as well. So if they come off, it's not just the speed, but it's the weight of the vehicle itself. So as part of that education, is that also included? Hey, if you're on a what is technically or almost a moped or a low powered motorcycle, you need a compliant helmet, not a bicycle helmet or a skateboard helmet. And just yesterday, I was on Middlesex. I saw definitely 2 middle schoolers, the rider with a helmet on, but his buddy on the back had nothing. And it's nice weather. They're wearing shorts. They come off there, they're going to get really hurt, as you know.
Great question. Excellent point. And we've addressed that too. I use it at one of the presentations I gave today. I even brought up a real life story. A young man in town here, right down the road, driving recklessly on the post road, kind of weaving in and out of traffic when traffic was slow. And happened to be a shift supervisor, stopped him. The kid stopped, which I credit the kid for stopping, because no one stops for us anymore, whether it's a car or bike or whatever. And he was very remorseful and sorry for what he did. And mom came to the scene. Mom was extremely cooperative and very thankful, and even actually pulled up, and I'm not sure if you're all familiar with it, but this Life 360 app. And what that does is track your kids, the location of their phones. So we know our kids are going to be where their phones are. So I have it for myself. Mom pulled up tracking information on the Life 360 and saw that her son was doing 42 miles an hour on the post road on an e-bike that was only equipped to go 28. Well, this was a situation where there was a governor type equipment on there, and he figured out how to use a fob to, without, unbeknownst to his parents, to release it and kind of get on it a little bit. And that was exactly the conversation that was had. The bicycle helmets, which is basically what at a minimum standard level the law requires, having some type of helmet. Bicycle helmets are designed to protect you from a fall from a level of 6 feet. If you're traveling at 40 miles an hour and above, a bicycle helmet does little to no good for you. Right. And that's something else that we're really trying to shine light on here for parents and the kids. And we're stuck in that liability triangle where we don't want to necessarily hold safety courses because we're attached to liability, but we can always point out exactly what you said, that a motorcycle helmet's made for certain levels and impact speeds, and we know that always doesn't do the job. But now we have kids on e-bikes and scooters that are traveling almost as fast, and they're wearing less protective equipment. So I'm sure, and I'm hoping that down the road there'll be another public act, and it normally comes in the October-ish areas of the year, and requirements and statutes and legislation get a little bit more firm based on safety. And we just saw an upgrade in the classifications and rules, but maybe that'll be the next thing. But you're exactly right. Bike helmets are not protecting kids if they're traveling over, say, 20 miles an hour.
Chief, how are the classes at the depot being received, and are you participating with that education effort?
We are not. We were informed that it was taking place, and I took the stance that, again, for liability reasons, we don't have certified people to train other than really kind of ensure that pedestrians, motor vehicle operators, and users of the road are obeying and adhering to the rules of the road. We're not certified in e-bike operation, e-scooter operation. So we were happy to assist where possible, but from a liability standpoint, due to the fact that we have no certified operators to teach these safety courses for kids, for the moment, we've taken a sidestep to that. The initiative is great. I question the level of certifications that anybody who may be instructing kids is, and but we're here to support, and we're here just bottom line, make sure everybody's safe. And if we can't do it in that capacity, we'll make sure and find a way to do it in other capacities.
Yeah, Bill, you had a question?
Yeah, thanks, Mac. I was just going to ask Chief or anyone, has there been any discussion at the Board of Education level regarding rules around students bringing these vehicles to school?
I can just quickly say from my standpoint, over the last couple of years being an administrator, I wasn't particularly in charge of school type operations, but I know the school has put out correspondence and rules and regulations that, of course, they welcome kids riding bikes and walking to school and using e-bikes and e-scooters, but they must be compliant. They must be within compliance of the law. Have we had some situations where they weren't? Have we had some situations over the past couple of years where the SRO specifically spoke to students and families and said that vehicle is prohibited on campus? It's prohibited by your child who doesn't have a driver's license to be operating? Sure. Have we had incidents where the same child continues to ride and hides it in the woods and runs from the police in a pursuit type situation and we end up arresting him? Yeah, we've had that too. But for the most part, we see compliance. I mean, everybody's out for safety, and we don't know what we don't know. We try and get on board, and we have a great relationship with our school partners, and where we see there's an issue, we always try and get in front of it. And we hate to be a reactive source to those type of things, because it seems like we're nitpicking, but it's all about the safety of the kids. And it's, again, and one of those things, it's an ongoing process for us, and who knows, next year it could be something else. So we're working on that for this year. And I really do think that the kids now, especially after the years that we've had school resource officers in place, we have that extra level of connection with them. And it's not just reaching out to mom and dad. It's not just the police are saying this. The kids actually come to the SROs and ask questions, and I hope it's received well, and we're going to continue to try and improve on that.
Chief Marin, thank you. I was just going to add just one thing, which maybe you've done, but partnering with the parent associations in each of the schools and those newsletters that they send every Sunday night to, if you're going to make a message before the holidays, as people are thinking of Christmas gifts and whatnot, I think it would be good to add your message, to those newsletters, because they're very much read and it'll get to all the parents versus, Depot doesn't get to all the kids and other venues may not reach all the families. So, the parent associations could be a big help.
It's a great idea. And over the last couple of years, we've been trying to work on consistent communication with the PTOs of the different schools. Each PTO has different concerns and they're asking us for different information. So it's tough to have a consistent message that is sent out each week or month or however the messages go out, but we're open to options, we're open to suggestions, and we always want to be a resource for the PTOs. Thank you.
Lois, you had a question?
No, that you've covered it. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, happy to answer anything else. And if you,
I have a different question if we're done with that topic.
I have one more question on that topic. Chief, when you said you don't have people on staff who are qualified to teach the safety program because they're not certified or whatever the case may be, why not get people certified in that?
Well, the e-bike and e-scooter industry and this trend has come on the floor so quickly, and it's changed so rapidly. We haven't figured out a platform yet to really kind of settle on and decide that this is what we're going to teach versus this is what we're not going to teach. It's changed so many times just as quick as the technology has come on scene. We're really waiting for kind of a level, almost a plateau of where legislation meets technology, but we haven't seen that yet.
The rules of the road are established. Okay, so whether they're on a bike that goes 50 miles an hour or 35 miles an hour, the rules of the road are the same. So even if it's just that introduction to like you know, a driving course so they understand the flow. It seems to me that would be a start.
Well, as I mentioned, we are doing that. However, I feel personally, and people could tell me I'm wrong, that's parenting right there. If you're sending your kid out on a bike to go to school, I wouldn't send my children out to head down Raymond Street or up Tokenique Road to go to school if I wasn't completely satisfied that they knew what the rules of the roads are.
So what are you doing to educate the parents?
It's back to that education and awareness. We reach out.
What are you doing to reach the parents?
Well, through our social media, through our press releases, through our updates when we're advised of new laws and changes in laws, and collaborating with the schools. If anybody's a parent of a school-age children, you know you've seen communications that have come out through the schools, and we're going to continue to do that and reinforce and bolster that. Do we reach everybody? I don't know, but we're open to suggestions. I mentioned to a gentleman today, if I could, I'd personally knock on everybody's door that I knew had school-age children and advise them of what we're seeing. So again, we're open to community engagement and all the opportunities we have. We welcome to stand in front of Middlesex Middle School when everybody's being dropped off and buses are dropped off, which we've done multiple times. And we engage parents when they're stuck in the traffic lines. We engage kids as they're walking in. The elementary schools, they see our officers doing the park walk and talk, and the e-bikes conversation is always one of the first things we have with them. So, you know, the police department is the junk drawer of any town or municipality. And the fact that e-bikes have become a new issue within the last 2 years, I would say. Of course, it's our responsibility, but it's not only our responsibility. We need to push along and kind of revitalize the fact that parents have some responsibility, the kids have responsibility, drivers have some responsibility, and that's what we're trying to really kind of lay our platform on and reinforce. And you know, slowly but surely, we know that we're going to have a positive outcome.
Yeah, but Chief, I hate to sound so negative, but it's just a matter of time. Some kid is going to get involved in an accident in this town, and they're going to circle back to you, and you're going to say, we didn't have anybody certified to do any training. We've done what we can on social media, and they're going to go, that's not enough. I mean, until you start issuing tickets to kids that their parents pay, the parents are going to keep buying this stuff. And do they know if their kids have snipped a wire to turn off the governor? How do they know? What do they do? How do they check that out? You told a story about the bike store that refused to do that for someone, right?
Mm-hmm. No, I don't think the parents know that the kids can snip a wire or change software, but I also don't think everybody agrees with you, Jim. I don't think that they want to be issued tickets for their kids. I don't think that the parents want to take responsibility fully for their children. And if we took that approach, I know for a fact, as with several other topics that we cover in town, that it becomes a police state, and it becomes the town of Darien can do better. And we've seen that, and I'm not saying it'll never get to that point in certain circumstances, because I've always said, even drivers, motor vehicles coming through town, and as we see, some people need more enforcement than others. But the kid that's driving around on a dead-end cul-de-sac and doesn't have a helmet on, should we be giving him a ticket?
No, but the kid that's driving on a Tokenique Road and weaving through traffic, until his parents get a ticket, they're not going to care about that. They may not even know. I mean, you were lucky to get a very cooperative mom with an app who could look at that. I bet you that kid's not riding that bike anytime soon.
Oh, you're exactly right. And that's just one example. But as soon as we give the ticket to the kid on the cul-de-sac, you know, they're going to be in our front lobby asking, and it's a case-by-case basis.
Well, that's not what we're talking about.
Speaking as a parent of a middle schooler, I would love to have a ticket than to have to plan a funeral. Please, let's be stricter. If those kids are being inappropriate on those devices, ticket them, because it is for their long-term safety.
I agree.
And I will back up even further. You have to remember that if, and I've said this at several meetings, if you go through a stop sign driving your motor vehicle and I'm behind you and turn on my lights and sirens and you don't stop, I'm not allowed to go after you. So I will tell you.
You got a license plate.
I'm sorry?
You get a license plate. You got cameras in every car. You got LPRs. You'll catch up with that person.
Not necessarily. But if we're on a scooter and you're acting erratically or driving recklessly, and our officers try to do the same, it's even less likely. I mean, we have the kids' cooperation in town for the most part, but I would say 1 out of 5 attempts that our officers make to try and stop a scooter, e-scooter, or a motorbike coming through town, they don't stop, and we have to, by law, pull over, shut our lights off, and document that that's exactly what we did. So we're facing some legislation issues as well. And I think that I understand the frustration. I understand the danger. And I also think that collaborating with the stakeholders we have in town, this is the best approach at this stage right now in how we're handling e-bikes and e-bike operation. We have seen some compliance. Like I said, I knock on wood. We see in the warmer weather months, sure, it ramps up a little bit, but right now it's even taken a little bit of a lull, and but that doesn't mean we're not still trying to pursue our education and awareness efforts and really kind of teaching kids and families what the right thing to do is.
Yeah, I think someone said earlier, if I just wanted to add this about teaching kids the rules of the road that you might learn when you start driving. But I also agree with you that it does have to start at home. And I think as much communication as you can provide as possible would be really good, because I'm maybe 6 years now in this town. And I've said this to Patrick. I'm personally appalled at how people drive in this town. And I'll just put it out there, because no one stops at stop signs. People fly right through the stop sign. A woman stopped at a green light right in front of me. I almost rear-ended her because she wanted to make a right from the left lane. So I've seen all kinds of things around town. If that's happening, I don't know that anyone's talking to their kids. So, the more you can communicate directly to the families, I think the better. Whatever it is, and if there's any way we can help you, let us know as parents. But I think we just have to communicate as much as possible.
Can I throw some?
Also like to,
Sorry, go ahead, Lois. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add one other thing to make sure the parents understand what type of helmet the kids need to use, that they can't just take their bike helmet and use it. Because I would think that would be an easy way where somebody's just going to mess up or not really understand. So I support, I'm hoping that, especially at Christmas time, like get a new helmet, get a helmet that really supports what you need.
I wanted to just circle back on something that the chief mentioned earlier about these vehicles on the sidewalk as opposed to the road. And I think that the challenge and the problem is probably less the high school kids who are 15, 16, either already are driving or are learning to drive. My concern is more about the 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds that are perhaps not going 45 miles an hour, but are still going 25 miles an hour. They may even be compliant. And as the chief said, nobody wants to tell a parent, hey, your kid's on a scooter that can go 20 miles an hour. He or she needs to be on the road. I fully understand that. So I think, when we're talking about these kids in the middle school age bracket, that's got to be falling all on the parents. Our police officers have got more important things to do. To me, it's just ridiculous that the parents are sending their kids out doing this, and it should not be the job of the police to enforce that kind of stuff. I think if a kid's going to middle school on one of these, on a bike or a scooter that's inappropriate, I think that the message has to come home from the school. But so maybe we can ban them at schools, or at least not ban them, but put some stricter guidelines in there.
I think Greenwich has done that, if I'm not mistaken, at the middle school once the new law took place. Do you know about that, Chief?
I'm not familiar with any kind of townwide policy in Greenwich.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But what I will say, and the elephant in the room here is, and on a Saturday in August in the town of Darien, if you wanted your police department to be enforcing e-bike, e-scooter, and kids under 16 that aren't obeying the rules of the road, we'd have to bring 10 officers in on overtime. It's every kid. It's every family.
Yeah.
We get stationed at Darien Commons during the weekends because of such a problem. Their kids are weaving in and out of causing chaos. No one's got a helmet. Everybody's complaining. We get 911 calls about it. Do we respond to it and try and remediate it? Sure. But the fact is, the police department has a lot of other things to take care of, especially in the summer. I'm not trying to avoid opportunities to prevent tragedy or anything like that, but to think that the amount of money you're paying your police officers to focus on things that I think on a almost 50% level parents could be taken care of, it is kind of ridiculous to
agree.
Me.
Completely agree, Chief.
But I'm not saying there aren't certain circumstances where kids are impeding traffic and there's a group of them and they're doing silly stuff that police shouldn't take action, and we will take action. We're going to take action. But the couple of kids that are just trying to go down to CVS because they live on Sedgwick or something like that, and one doesn't have a helmet or one scooted through a crosswalk or something like that, that deserves a different level of interaction than enforcement. And that's what we stand for when it comes to motor vehicles, when it comes to, we have discretion, right? We're reasonable people. I don't think the public, not only our residents, but the people who visit here, expect us to have a heavy hand no matter what the circumstances. But I'm not losing sight of the fact that, you know, in certain circumstances, we can make a difference and prevent tragedy, and we're going to do that. But the everyday common occurrences with these this type of an issue, we're going to address it with a soft approach first, ramp up where we need to, and hopefully make an impact overall. And my heart and my family being in this business in town of Darien for 60 of the 100 years the police department's been in existence, I think that's the approach that the town would generally want.
I was just gonna say, Stephen, I agree with you totally in that. I think the most problematic age bracket is that, you know, middle school age. And I think that's kind of why I asked the question earlier about schools banning them, because I do not support middle schoolers riding to school on these bikes, or being encouraged to do so. I think if you get that message to the middle schoolers, and maybe that's one way to do it. I think at least you're getting them, you know, before they get into high school too.
And don't forget it. You know, one of the strange kind of makeups here is after COVID, we dealt with our entire shifts were doing traffic at schools because no one let their kids take the bus anymore because a variety of reasons, right? We all know traffic or in and around the schools were it was something that the town had never seen. Well, now you have e-bikes, you have e-scooters, parents are, that's great. I don't have to sit in traffic lines anymore. You're just going to ride your bike. You're going to take your e-bike or your e-scooter. So we're seeing a lot of that too. So we're not going to prevent that, but I think where we can really kind of bolster a safe behavior type situation is to discuss with the parents and talk with the kids, put our pamphlets out, put our updated pamphlets out, put them in location. We have thousands of pamphlets all over town and all the areas that kids would be and parents would be that are trying to educate these kids on not only what the laws are, but what just generally what safe practices are.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time tonight.
Wait, I have a different question.
Go ahead.
This is going to be one of those questions like, oh no, she read it in the newspaper and I can't believe she's asking that question, but I'm still going to ask it. License plate readers. Does the information that's gathered on the license plate readers go to the federal government or other government agencies on an individual level?
That's a fantastic question. License plate readers I mean, that was on my list. I didn't want to waste your time with things you didn't want to hear about, but license plate readers have made a huge impact with the way we deliver professional public safety service in town. And there was a recent article that noted that Flock Safety, which is our vendor for our license plate reader, was providing information and data collected to ICE and other federal partners that we might have. And I wish I have my notes exactly here, but the answer is no. And we had with our police commission and several members of our command staff, and I apologize, I'm going through to see if I can locate my notes. They indicated to us that not only does Flock Safety, our vendor themselves, not have access to the data that we're collecting, but that they only piloted with some federal agencies for the purposes of human trafficking investigations and fentanyl investigations. When that article came out, we ensured that not only were they not sharing that information, and that information was ours, but they, on a company-wide level and an industry-wide level, were not doing that as well. And they assured us it was a pilot program that is no longer in existence, where they were working with, I don't know if it was Homeland Security or another branch of the government, and aiding in investigations for, as I mentioned, fentanyl investigations and human trafficking. So specifically, our data that we capture from our license plate camera, again, is housed in our cloud that we only have access to, and it's under heavy standards and guidance and who can access that and what we can use that for. So to answer the main question is no, we're not sharing that information with ICE or anybody else. And there's been, depending on what channel you watch, you'll get a lot of other versions of what's happening with Big Brother always watching and that type of thing. But I have not seen technology impact the way we do our business and keep the town of Darien safe in my entire 30-year career that I have with the addition of these license plate readers. They are used in such a wide variety of capacities and have helped us solve so many cases. And some of the people on this call may have even had experience with it, but it's a force multiplier for us right now. And we're looking to expand the program. And it is, let's put it this way. I've been an administrator for 5 years. I've been in the detective bureau since 2015. This past quarter stats, I've never seen I've seen the lowest numbers ever in motor vehicle theft and car burglaries than we've had in almost 15 years. I can't put my finger on it that it has to do with our license plate readers or other things that we're doing, or maybe even compliance of the residents, but we are heading in the right direction with this type of stuff.
But Chief, that's not an example of a police state, and enforcing the traffic rules is? You don't have to answer that. It's just a comment.
No, I don't think it's a police state. I mean, what we're doing is monitoring, public activity. There's no expectation of privacy when you drive through the post road in Darien, especially if you're looking to commit a crime. I think that's our responsibility to keep you and the rest of the residents in town safe. And if we have tools to do it, we're not using it. We're not looking up where Jim Cameron's traveling. We enter hot lists. We enter vehicles that we already know that are involved in criminal activity or have conducted crimes. I mean, when I use the example that a emotionally disturbed father took his kids hostage up in Farmington and fled the scene, and it happened that he drove through one of Darien's license plate reader cameras, which was ended up stopped in Stanford, and there was a standoff, and it was brought to a successful resolution. And I don't know what the outcome would have been if he didn't go through one of our cameras. I don't think that's a police state. I think that's using technology to the advantage of keeping everybody safe.
So if I got into a messy divorce situation with my wife of 35 years, and her attorney came to you and said, I'd like to see where Mr. Cameron has been on the nights of X, Y, and Z, you
Not
wouldn't give him
happening.
that information.
Not happening. However, well, I don't want to suggest
However,
anything, but
yes, there's always a however.
there's always access to our body worn camera footage, and that's Freedom of Information Act type stuff. And we have that on a regular basis. We have people requesting footage of our officers' interactions with people, and they have the right to do that. That's out of our control. We abide by those standards and laws, and we'll continue to abide by those standards and laws. But that is similar to the situation you just kind of brought up as an example.
Okay. Thanks, Chief.
If I'm hearing you right, are you saying that car thefts are down in town? I mean, the proverbial leaving the keys in the car, that's people are getting the message?
Again, I'm going to knock on wood on this one, Mac, but we had 2 car thefts this quarter.
What?
Never heard of that. I mean, we had more car thefts back when you could hotwire cars. Car thefts are happening on a daily basis for many, many years here. So I don't know if it's the time of year, compliance of the residents. Like I said, the installation and the deployment of our cameras, our tactics here that we're using with our patrols and our just other things that are going on. But I know one thing, it's not legislation that has firmed up, because legislation is still very loose on property crimes, and we're looking to change that. But yeah, for this quarter, a very low number of car burglaries and a very low number of car thefts. And I can't help but really thank and show appreciation to our residents for locking their cars and not leaving their keys in their center console, or their fobs in their center console. I think it's making a difference.
But we don't know that they're not leaving keys in cars. It may be that the license plate readers are acting as a deterrent for people to bring stolen cars into Darien and then go shopping for an upgrade, right?
And that's
the
how
keys
it
may
goes.
still be someplace.
Typically, these the perpetrators of these crimes are operating in vehicles that are already stolen from other towns.
Right.
We're being notified and advised of these vehicles entering our town at a faster rate. I'm not saying that the 56 hot list hits that we had in the last 30 days were all stolen cars coming into town, but I think the word gets out, and I think it does have an impact. And if we know a car came in through Heights Road and end up on Patton Drive, and our dispatchers are made aware that a stolen car is in the area, and our officers go to that scene, we're probably preventing a crime. We may be pushing it to another town, but if it's affecting our numbers, I'll buy it.
But if they're coming in on a scooter late at night.
Well, I'm working with Flock to try and have scooters entered into this system, so that those 10-year-old kids that we want to give tickets to, we're going to put them in the Flock hit list.
No. I mean those kids from out of town, those bad boys.
You're right. No,
So you said
Okay.
the car theft and break-ins are down, but are e-bike incidents, impacts with cars up?
I mean, we've never had, we don't have the data with e-bikes other than the last 2 years or so.
Can you ballpark how many incidents there have been where an e-bike or a scooter has been hit by a car or vice versa in town in the last 6 months?
I mean, I think we're at the level of where it's like a handful and not much more than that. Unfortunately, when you have a vehicle involved with a pedestrian or a bicycle or e-bike scooter, there is always a level of injury, even if very, very minor. And I'm happy to say and thankful to say that the injuries have been pretty minor. But in the last 6 months, we couldn't have had more than 10 incidents involving a vehicle. Most of them are people falling off e-bikes and e-scooters. That's most of the incidents we respond to. And I was stuck in Henley school traffic one day trying to come out of Nearwater Lane, and I saw 3 kids. They were older than Henley school kids, weaving in and out of the stopped traffic. And by the time I get back to headquarters, I'm hearing that the ambulance is getting dispatched because one of those kids, in the middle of the road down towards the beach, he had clearly had a misfortune of an accident, single vehicle involved, and was injured, but thankfully not serious. So most of the incidents we respond to involving e-bikes and e-scooters are kids learning how to operate them in the first place and falling and being injured and the parents call, or just like I said, the single e-bike, e-scooter incidents alone.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Of course. And I know we could go all night and address many issues. And I just want to make sure you all know, you know where to find me. So if there are specific issues that you want to address offline, I'm happy to always entertain them. And if I don't have the answer, you know, I'll do my research and get back to you on it.
Thank you.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Good night, all. Thanks for inviting me.
Good night.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, thank you.
Take care.
Okay, well, thank you. That was a good discussion, and you know, I think we covered a lot of good things. Obviously, the e-bike issue, but Lois, thank you also for bringing up the license plate reader question. Well, let's move on to the next.
I was just going to say the license plate reader thing. Watch the Board of Selectmen meeting from Monday, the quarterly department head reports. The chief gave a very good summary of the effectiveness of license plate readers.
Well, there's one question I didn't ask because I didn't want to pursue it further. But I know some towns are tracking everybody coming in and out and recording that. And that's different than a license plate reader, right?
No, we have, I think he said 16 permanently mounted license plate readers. Everybody coming into Darien, on the
Wow.
Post Road, on I-95. There is a portable one that they have. And he said that every camera in every patrol car now has license plate reading capabilities.
Okay.
So they are ubiquitous.
Okay. Thanks, Jim.
We've been warned.
Yeah, watch that segment.
Yeah.
It's a good segment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's segue to our discussion and voting on the ordinance for the abatement of illicit sump pump discharge into public sewers. So, I will start with this as, you know, we're public health and safety, and when I was asked the other night at the rules committee meeting would we address this, you know, my first thought was I'm not really sure it's a public health or safety issue. You know, this is really a money issue. What has been happening is that more and more you know, apartments, houses are coming online. I mean, there are more things using the sewer system. So and our sewer system goes to Stamford, and we get charged for it. So if you're going to mix in also all the groundwater that comes from sump pumps on top of it, it's really starting to add up. So I think that's why this kind of came about. A little history: when we bought our house 30 years ago, we were told by our home inspector that this was something we needed to look at, whether or not our sump pump system that came with the house was hooked into the sewer system. So I talked to somebody at the Public Works Department, and they were very nice, and they said, "Oh, Mr. Patrick, thanks for inquiring, but over half the homes in town are hooked up this way, and we're never going to check." Well, fast forward, you know, now they are talking about doing it. So hopefully everybody look this over. It's you know, it's quite comprehensive. It's starting out with a survey that's going to be mailed to every household. Right now, they don't know who has these hooked up and not. So it's basically you're going to go through and you're going to check off boxes.
It's more than just a survey, Mac. It's an affidavit.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I mean, this is how they're going to collect the initial information. But you're right.
5,400 sewer or 5,400 houses in town.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Right.
they're sending it out to everyone. So that's
Yes.
45,000. So who is going to staff this, read this mail, open this mail, go through it, check off the boxes? That's several jobs.
Public Works,
Yeah.
Sewer Commission.
Yeah. It is amazing. Let me just refer to it.
Mac, I'm sorry, just real quick so I understand, is the ask to have people pay something for having that set up? Or
I
is
wish
it
there was
to-
I wish there was somebody here from Sewer Commission. I hope there will be on Monday night, because I am not in favor of this, and I'll explain why. Their argument is that when it rains heavily, we double the amount of water that we are sending to Stamford to get processed. And that costs us money. I've got that. They do not have statistics on how much of that water is infiltrating in the pipes as opposed to coming out of sump pumps.
Right.
So they're going to
Mhm.
survey everybody. You're going to have to swear that you either have a sump pump or you're not quite sure if you have a sump pump. And if you do have a sump pump, is it going to be going into your sewer or is it going outside?
And back
And
it up
then
with
if
photographic evidence.
Right.
and they take a
Yeah.
picture of it, right? And then if you have a sump pump and it's going into the sewer, I think they're going to give you 6 months uh, to call a plumber and pay a lot of money. Do you know how much plumbers cost?
Yeah.
You know, just to maybe run a hose from your sump pump out the window. And I'm not convinced that it's sump pumps that are overloading the sewer system. And I mean, I have a constituent who has lived in a house for over 30 years, and she says she has a sump pump and it has maybe been used twice. And you're telling her she's going to have to spend, I don't know, 400 or
Yeah.
500 bucks to
Yeah.
get a sump pump vented to the outside
But you can't
that
do
she may
that,
never
Jim.
use.
But Jim, I don't even know that is that possible, because when we moved here, we had to install, we don't have a sump pump. We had to install new houses have to install like a tank that captures all the rainwater that comes so that it doesn't go out, out onto the street and flood the streets. So you have to do that. So you can't now ask people to dump their sump pump water out onto the street. They'll
I
have
don't
to
think they
get a
care where it
container,
goes as long as it doesn't
Yeah.
go into the sewer system.
and you'll flood the
Yeah, I think-
streets again. That's
Well,
a
if
Well, I
big
think-
they got
problem.
Where does
Why
the,
would you send it to the whole town? Why not just send the questionnaire to people who are on the sewer line?
Well, that's what it is.
Oh, is that
Technically,
what they're
not,
going to do?
they're not going to
Yeah.
send it to people that are on septic, and
Yeah.
they know that.
Okay.
It's going to people that are
the people that
pay
get
the
sewer
bill.
tax bills.
where
Right,
does the
right.
water in the storm drains go? Doesn't that also go into the sewer?
No, I think it makes its way to the sound actually.
Right.
In theory, it's clean water. It's surface water, or it's water that's coming out of sump pumps. And like on my street, for example, there are people that have a little. You walk down Edgerton towards West Avenue. The homes that have kind of high front yards that slope down. There's a pipe that goes right to the end of the road, and that's where the sump pump water is coming out, and then it goes right down to a storm drain.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Let's also not lose sight of the fact, I heard at a selectmen's meeting when they gave a presentation of what they are doing to try and upgrade the sewer system that we have. So they're not just going out towards to us, they're working within their own systems to fix potential leaks and problems within the system. So this
Mhm.
is like the next stage after they're getting what they're doing within the system to work. I
Well,
think
the
it
oth-
was
the
an
other
interesting
thing-
presentation when, Mac, I don't know if you heard it, but it was a very interesting presentation when Ed gave an overview of what they're all doing. This is part of a plan. It's not the total focus. It's just something it's the one part that we need to give feedback on.
So Mac, are we supposed to vote on this, whether we agree to this or not? Is that what what's the?
Well, yeah,
report
that's
out
what
to
that's
the
what it is.
committee?
I mean, the RTM has to approve it. There's also a fine involved. It's $250, which I kind of chuckled when I saw that, because we wrung our hands about whether or not we should have a $25 fine or a $50 fine for the dog ordinance.
Right.
Leashing and picking up. And this is 5 times that.
Is that a one-time fine or is that an annual fine? I mean, is it cheaper for my constituent to pay the $250 fine and say, okay,
I'm
that's
done.
cheaper than paying for a plumber?
I think, to your point, I think it's an annual thing. If you were not in compliance, then you would have to you'd be checked again. The thing that's interesting is that Section 1013-8 says power of authorized agents. You're actually, by signing off on this, you're agreeing to have people come to your door that they'll make an appointment, but they can come in and check your basement. And these might be people from Public Works or someone that they've authorized, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Ice.
We don't live in a police state, though, do
Yeah.
we? They're going to come into my basement and crawl around down there? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to, just to get this going, I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance as proposed.
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay. I
Okay.
don't agree with this, but I just want to, get the
Yeah.
ball rolling here. But I think some of the issues that we're raising in your report to the full body on Monday would be worthwhile reporting, especially they can come into your house part.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
I'll bring
I'm
all
on
these
the
up.
blight review board, okay? Blight
Yeah.
officers cannot go into a house.
Oh, that's
Can't.
interesting. Yeah.
They can't even go up. They can't cross the property
line.
They're not allowed to, if they can't see it from the street, they're not allowed to touch it. But now the sewer police are going to come in and look in my crawl space or my constituents' crawl space. I don't know, you have to ask her.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's vote on this. All in favor of the ordinance, raise your hand.
I don't know.
Three.
Okay.
I think Jim
We
made a
need
good point.
opposed?
I think you
All
made
those
a good.
opposed?
I think you made a good point not to vote for it or to make an amendment.
Well, I'm gonna let's take out those who are saying no, because he didn't call for that, Mac.
Okay. Well, who said yes first? So, because I'm gonna have to document this. Okay. So Lois,
Stephen, and you.
Okay. And then the rest are no's.
Can I
Well,
abstain?
it could be a abstain. Could be an abstain. How about no's?
Okay. So
I'm
no's are
I'm against
Jim.
the police state. Yes.
Liz Bacon,
Thank
Tom
you,
Moore.
Liz, Tom.
William Clarkson.
Okay, Bill, and okay. And then who's abstaining? Janine?
Yes.
And Violet.
Okay.
I think it needs some more discussion and changes. I would approve it maybe in the future. I'm not opposed to the idea of it, but the way it's set up right now, there's too many questions.
Well, I think Jim,
Like Jim
told
said,
me
the
it was
sewer
like the
police.
state. So
Yeah.
I'm afraid.
Well, no,
Don't
it's gonna be
please
interesting
don't stick that on me.
because
The manpower
I think it needs an amendment. I think it needs an amendment on the floor.
Yeah, or an amendment. Yeah.
So we've got 3 in favor of it, 4 against it, and then two are abstaining. So I mean that's what I'll give in my report.
Yeah.
And the reasons why mainly the no votes. So and I'll try to get something out to everybody so you can see it. So but
I'll speak up at the meeting, I promise.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Oh, what a shock.
But this whole thing has gone through like a hot knife through butter so far. Every single body has endorsed it.
Yeah, but Jim, a
And
lot
these
of work,
issues have not been raised.
Yeah.
a lot of work
Yeah.
has gone into creating it. And this is not something that got done. Public Works was intricately involved in the whole process.
Has anybody thought about the amount of work and enforcement that will have to go into this versus a different approach of just
asking?
Right, estimate, or you're just increasing the water sewer tax?
Yeah, the other thing too is that, and I don't know if it's fair, but there are often things that are grandfathered. An old chimney or something that in new construction you wouldn't have it done the same way. This is just everyone's has to go and correct this. So I don't know if that's a valid point, but it's just it was.
The reason I think it's valid, Mac, is just because, to your point, it's really it's a question of money, right? And so now we're going to go try to figure out everyone's setup and see who gets to pay. Like I think a better approach would just be, as a town, we have some deficiencies in our sewer system and the way that this is working, so we need to adjust how we're budgeting for it.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but a few years ago, the Public Works Department did this smoke testing, and because I got a letter about it, they were gonna be using smoke through the sewer system that would be pushed into people's homes and they could tell whether or not it was hooked up for the sump pump coming out. And I'm not sure I can explain it exactly how it worked, but I remember Ed, when it was all said and done, he said they really didn't seem to have a problem in town with it. But I think fast forward, we've got so many more people coming online now, and with sewers, with the apartments and whatnot.
Are there in the public records, Mac? You know, when you I just know if you go online, you can see, you know, all the homes and sort of whether they're, you know, gas powered or propane. There's a lot of information about, can they just tell from public records if someone has a sump pump or not, if a house has a pump
I
or
don't
not?
think so.
I don't think so. That's why they're doing this affidavit thing.
Okay.
And anything
Yeah.
that's being built now has to get a building permit. So in the process of those permits being issued, I can't see how this would be. Well, obviously it could be a post-close add-on, but
Mhm.
I think for new apartment buildings and new construction, I don't think that's where your problem is.
Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is that with new construction of apartments, you know, if you've got 50 units, that's 50 toilets. That's more stuff going into the sewer system, is what I'm saying.
Mm.
And I think they're more sensitive to they're going to be paying more money going forward to Stanford to process our sewer.
Gotcha.
One of the things that I heard in the discussion was that the idea was to get this under control so that it would lower the amount we're currently sending to Stanford. So we'd have room to put the new units and their sewage into the bucket. Because one of the things Ed was saying is Stanford could turn around and say, we don't have the capacity to do your sewage anymore. And then we're in trouble, because I don't know where you go from there. So that was, so the sense I got was trying to balance it. Like, if we can reduce the stuff that doesn't belong, then we have more room. I don't know.
Oh, so I got to subsidize the new developments, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Monday's going to be fun. We got a busy night on Monday, folks. Bring your
all right. Well,
Red Bull.
Okay, so we've
right.
addressed this. I don't have anything else other than any announcements. Just I'll just give an announcement. I've kind of been telling some people, but I will not be chair next year. I'm running for re-election on the RTM, but I'm not going to be chair of public health and safety. You know, I may be on the committee. I may choose to get on another committee, but you know, I've been doing this for 15 years plus, and I think 10 years is usually a good benchmark for any leadership, whether in business or whatever. And I think it's time for me. So,
Mac, I'm sorry, you
pass that
cannot
along.
resign. We
You're
need
so
you.
good.
Well, thank you. No, it's just it's time to get someone else up to speed.
Okay. Well,
All right.
thank you for your service, though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've done a
Fabulous.
great job.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Would you like a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So moved.
I
Okay.
Second.
Okay.
Right.
All in favor?
Stopping the
Okay.
recording.
Please
Bye.
rise.
All right. Okay.
See you Monday.
Thanks, everybody.
All
And
right,
I really
thank you.
appreciate the